How you doing?
Live without Nate. This is
Live without Nate. Well,
it's like tightroping without a net.
That's it. Well, Nate decided to come to the Mosconi Cup and hang around for 4 days with the big boys, and now he's suffering for it. It's that golden rule: don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we are here. I'll be running the show today. So Nate's taking a little bit of a sabbatical. He's recovering from his alcoholic remorse, and so we're going to talk some Mosconi Cup. All three of us were there. All three of us will have our own impressions about how it went, I guess. First of all, what did you think of the setup? What did you think about the match as a whole itself, as a competition? What were your overall experiences? Let's start with Mike.
I've got nothing but positives for this Mosconi Cup, from the venue to the production to the atmosphere. The play was really tough and intense, and the table being so tight, and the heat coming so much from the crowd. There were a lot of mistakes by players. You don't usually see missed balls. It made for really compelling stuff. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, I mean, this was my first Mosconi Cup in person, and seeing, I watch it every year, so I become that guy, you know what I mean, who's at home just kind of like going nuts for 4 days, whatever. So to be in the arena with the level of intensity that the audience was bringing was pretty special, and to see how much the audience had an impact on the play. I know for sure there was obvious balls that were missed because of the crowd, on the European side. And so that really added, I think, a lot of value for Team USA, and they really, really made it uncomfortable most of the time. For Team Europe, there was my only critique of the crowd was there was like these huge swells of energy in certain matches, and then people were like, "Oh wow, what a big match!" But I want, and then they go to the bathroom and get a beer or something, and then the next match would come right out.
It was usually the second match. It was usually the second match of the day, because people would get in there early for the first match, and they really geeked out for the first match, and then the air kind of goes out of the building for like the first half of the second match.
Right. So they kind of gave an advantage to Team Europe that second match, and I'm like, I lost my voice the first day. So like the first day, I was getting crappy looks from people because I was in the European side of it, sitting just on the borderline of Team Europe. But people were giving me like side-eye looks and stuff because I was just so intense. I lost my voice the first day, so I was like just trying my best to continue to support the team as much as I could.
That's a rookie error. That's a rookie error. You've got to pace yourself for 4 days.
Yeah.
I can't. There's 0% chance I'm gonna like not just turn it up 100%. Anyway, so that was the only thing that I was like, come on guys, you gotta keep, you gotta stay with it. You gotta really, because they're obviously feeling it. Like you can tell, even during those lulls, you could tell that they're really kind of like, being mindful of what the crowd was doing and the pressure. The overall experience was really incredible. I think Matchroom did a wonderful job in putting together the show, and we can get into the particulars about the competition, but overall it's a pretty special experience. And I think for me, the big takeaway as somebody who's on the outside looking in and want to compete in something like this, you get a context for all the talk online and how little it actually means when it comes to the actual day of, because everybody was talking about how Europe was dead stealing and they're going to beat them 11-2 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, day one, USA is up 3-1. You know what I mean? And if Earl wins that first match in day two, we're having a different conversation, I think, for how the rest of the cup goes. And honestly, we were, 2 balls away in a couple of different matches, maybe a couple fluke safeties that Europe got on the last day that kind of helped keep USA at bay. This cup was very competitive and very close. And, despite all the, what you want to say about the picks and all this other stuff, you don't really get a context for what it's like to compete in there until you've been there and seen it happen. So all this nomenclature and talk about, oh well, this team is stealing or whatever. All that's great. That's all great on paper. But when you hear 2,500 people screaming down your neck and you got to cut a ball down the rail and your partner just got a little bit of bad shape and you hear the crowd going, oh, it's a different story. It's totally different procedure. So yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome how, just to watch it from the outside, looking at it and saying, man, pretty impressive, how the team fought and how much, all this other stuff's got to be left at the door. You just got to make the balls when you get there.
Yeah, I thought it was a great event. I really enjoyed it. There were times during it where I was sitting in my chair thinking, we don't have to win this match here. This could go the other way, and there were a couple of turning points during the match, a couple of missed balls at vital times. If they go the other way, it's a different match. There really wasn't a lot in it, but that's what we always say at the start. It's still 9-ball race to 5. There's not a huge amount between these guys. People can talk about Fargo differences, but a 40-point Fargo difference in a race to 5 in that arena, it doesn't have to make much of a difference, to be honest.
Right.
And we did see there was, I got to admit, from a European side, there was a couple of matches where, we did get all the rolls, and they could go the other way.
Yeah, Jason missing that ball against Shane. That was
Jason done some rolls in that match.
Miss a shot by 6 inches and then
I was walking back into the arena because I went to the bathroom real quick, and I walked back in, and Alex Lady's walking in. I'm like, I thought Jason was Scottish. And he's like, he is Scottish. I'm like, then why is he playing with the luck of the Irish then? Yeah. And he was like, there's a lot of heat out there. There's a lot of heat out there.
But in that very same match, Shane was missing balls by half a diamond as well.
There was that one game where they both just kept taking
they had a 10-minute period.
And it was terrible.
Could you imagine somebody who'd never watched pool before and this comes up on the TV and they think, I'll watch the Mosconi Cup, and it just happened to be that 10 minutes that they watch. Yeah. They think,
these are two of the best players in the world.
The best players in the world. They can't even get within 6 inches of the pocket. It was a crazy 10 minutes.
Pretty intense.
But okay, so you mentioned the crowd there. I think it's a good place to stop. I think personally, my first Mosconi Cup was 2010. I missed 2011 because of the birth of my first daughter. And obviously there was the COVID edition in 2020. Other than that, I've been every single Mosconi Cup since 2010. I can categorically say without a doubt, not even close, that is the best American crowd that I've experienced. It was insane. I got to give some credit to Billy Thorpe. He was talk about putting energy into that crowd. He was going insane, and
there's something wrong with that boy.
There's something wrong with him. But he was there. He was rooting for his team. He was getting the crowd going. There were a couple of calls at certain stages that you think, you shouldn't really be shouting that kind of nonsense. But in general, I thought they behaved great. They were loud. They did everything they could to get behind the team, and they were there like a seventh man, And it's like you said, you could feel the difference in the arena when if the atmosphere just dropped slightly, whether it be people going for the bathroom after a match or to get another drink. But when they were in full flow and they were all present, wow, what an atmosphere! It was insane. It was. I've never experienced a crowd against me the way that they were. I think there was a lot of the European fans that couldn't make it over. It's a different financial package nowadays than it was the last time we went. Everything's a bit more expensive. Plus, you've got some COVID restrictions for some people that I know personally who are not vaccinated. They couldn't make it over. But listen, even if we had a full complement of the European fans over there that go every single year to Vegas, it's in Vegas, we'd have struggled to keep up with the American fans. I thought they were insane. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I can remember even.
No, that's okay. I was going to say it's just, to me, it's like a numbers game. Now they're getting 2,000 American fans. When it was, 600 total fans, 250 of them would be European. When it was 1,000, total fans, 300 would be European. So now that it's 2,000, 350 European. So the difference in the size of who has a bigger piece of the pie in the stands is getting to be noticeably to the side of the Americans, and that just makes for more fun and makes for louder noise because you're in the majority of people, and I thought it was just fantastic. And what people have to realize is that, listen, when you have 2,500 people in there, you're going to have a dozen real jerks who are going to say stupid, mean, personal, whatever kind of things. And, but let's just stop the whole blame game of, Americans are jerks and European fans are always great and European fans are shit and American fans are always great. Give it up. It's sports fans in general, no matter what sport they're watching, you're going to get a percentage in there who just don't get it and just aren't, nice. And realistically, I'd love to see this get to the point where they just, as soon as someone says something like that, just grab them by the back of the neck and throw them out. I mean, I have no problem with that. I don't care whether they're European, American, big, small, man, woman, it doesn't matter. They say the wrong thing,
especially after the third round.
Get them out. I have no problem with that.
Especially after the third round of drinks or whatever, you know what I mean? People start getting a little loose.
Well, it's generally it's probably a little bit worse when it's in London. I admit the stuff that I heard last year when it went in London, I was embarrassed by some of the stuff that some of the fans were shouting. Like you said, there's a certain percentage in any population that are just idiots. But in London, it starts in the evening, so they've had a whole afternoon of drinking. Right. Whereas in the USA, it's 11 o'clock, so you're lucky if you've had an hour of drinking. You've had to get out of bed pretty early to get drunk for an 11 o'clock start.
I've seen Mosconi referees verbally point out, people in London say, hey, you say that again, you do something like that again.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? 100%. We didn't get to that point here, but maybe there were so many people. But
it was just a very occasional one. It was nothing very. I mean, some people are getting upset with the whole Joshua Filler. Joshua Filler sucks. I personally think that's all right.
That's clever. I thought that was good.
If that's the worst you do, if that's the worst you do, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's the whole crowd getting involved in it. And you haven't made up your own song. You've used one of ours, which I think is a bit lame. But at least you're getting involved in it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's all right. It's not a problem for me.
Yeah. And it didn't bother Joshua very much. I mean,
he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But this was the first time that I even saw a U.S. crowd that reminded Cali stuff online, and I've seen from a perspective of like a viewer, like, wow, that crowd is super intense. This is the first time I imagined or saw a U.S. crowd. I was like, man, they got action. But I have a feeling next year, wherever it's going to be in Europe, they're going to just roast.
It's a different crowd over there, isn't it, Jim? I mean, I think realistically, and this isn't a knock or whatever, I think there are more pool fans at the U.S. event because this is a destination stop and you've got a pretty huge pool community. In London, it's no different than, the 1,000 guys who go out to the darts on a Friday night to drink beer and just yell as loud as they can yell. And so I think from a pool knowledge standpoint, I thought that the U.S. crowd this year was really top notch. And I think that does have a little bit of difference in how tilt they tend to go from one side to the other.
Yeah, very much. The European crowd in Europe, generally they try to create as kind of a soccer match atmosphere, or like you said, the darts.
Right.
And it's very easy for the match itself to get lost in amongst all that, and then there's no quiet during important shots. They're not really paying attention. I had the impression last year a few groups weren't really paying attention to the match. But you did notice it there when the referee raised his finger. People were aware he was raising his finger. Sure. They sat there and went shh for like 3 or 4 minutes, but they were aware that there was and players don't mind that. As a player myself, and they'll tell you don't mind a continuous noise. It's the one voice that shouts something stupid while you're over the shot. That's the one that gets in your head, and that's the one that will disturb you. A continuous noise we don't care about,
Yeah, because then it just gets to be part of the background.
Yeah. So let's go into day one. As usual, it seems to be at the moment. USA get off to a good start by winning the team match.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit of a thing now. Last time that Europe won the team match, I think, was 2016 or
7. Or no, you know what? They won it in 18. They won the team match in 18.
Did they?
Yeah, because they went up 2-0 before Tyler had his singles match against Niels, right? So it was.
It's becoming a little bit of a trend now. Do you see any reason behind that? I mean, I know. For me, it seemed like Europe.
It's one rack for fun. it's one rack per player, right? So you just, there's some players who just never stepped up to the table because someone
it's a
breaks and runs
concentration
out.
thing,
So
isn't
that's
it? It's a concentration thing. Be ready when it's your turn, And I got a little bit of the impression for the European team that they weren't really putting themselves.
They haven't started strong.
They were just
in the last
they weren't ready for, or they weren't.
See, and I'm surprised because Alex, that was kind of one of his big pushes this year was it's important to win the team match, and I think it's because he's got the favorite and he's looking for any way he can to get them, focused and dialed in when they know they're the favorites. And so he really pushed the team match. But I just think, you can be as ready as you want to be, but if it's your turn to play and you get the break and you don't get anything on the break, there's not a lot you can do about it. If you're sitting there and the other person breaks and they get an open table and run out, there's not really that, so I didn't see any poor play in there or not being prepared or ready. I just think that, the U.S. won the leg, had more, break opportunities and took advantage of them. But the team match, it's always good. It was great for the U.S. to win that team match because it really got the crowd to start to realize what kind of impact they could have on the event.
Right. No, it's crucial, especially with the crowd, like to make Team Europe feel them right away. I felt like there was a couple matches where Europe got control and the crowd got quiet. You know what I mean? And it's like you can't just make it like a normal tournament for them where they're just comfortable, running balls and playing, the quiet background.
As soon as you let these guys get comfortable, then you're in trouble.
Yeah,
you got to keep the heat on them. You got to keep the intensity high.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So I feel like the early start with the team match, get the crowd settled in and get them pumped up. That's a big thing, and it also just adds some speculation and doubt to the European players who are probably already feeling pressure. They're going to be susceptible to pressure. I thought Francisco played well, but he showed signs of being susceptible to some pressure. Jason early did not play well. Like he didn't play well really until.
I didn't think he played well the whole tournament. I mean,
right,
I thought
exactly.
There was one singles match where he ran. He had just lost doubles and he came in. I think it was on day 3.
That happened a couple. Then he broke a couple of times for Europe.
David once, and with Jason once. They came out, and in both cases, it happened because their breaks were unbelievable. Yeah. Both of them just went and broke like monsters, and the table opened up for them, and they just ran out. Right. Those were those 2 matches. But I think overall, I did not think Jason played well.
No, this is probably the worst cup he's played in a while. Maybe
it's been a little bit indicative of his entire season. He just not quite there. He did it at the international, obviously, but the international is a place where he seems to just feel at home.
Yeah,
even when it was a US Open, he has these tournaments where he walks in and it's almost like. This is home for me, Turning Stone, international. He just feels as he walks in, and it's almost like his confidence rises, and other people look at him and here comes Jay again, But
that said, he went 3 for 3 in singles.
Exactly, so, he won his singles. I want to say that he won his singles matches.
That's where you win. That's where you win the cup is in the singles matches.
But and they were. We mentioned that coming back from a losing doubles and winning your singles match, we talk about momentum all the time in the Mosconi Cup, how important momentum is. And these are the moments where they managed to, after losing their match, they managed to come back out, play strong, and stop any momentum happening. Because it's more chance, or you'd think it would be, the Americans would be thinking, great, we've got him again. He's just lost. He's just played pretty poorly in his doubles. Now he's coming back out again. This is our chance to build some momentum. And both himself and David, they stopped that momentum at that time, and they basically, sort of shut the door on the USA getting any runs going, which is always important in a Mosconi Cup, Yeah. So anyway, Alex puts out Francisco and David in the first doubles, which I knew he was going to do. That was kind of the obvious one to get the rookie out there as quick as possible with his best mate.
Right.
And they crushed it. They played great, And I didn't hear the Federer shout as much as I expected to. I really thought that the USA were going to go nuts on the whole Federer shout, but they never really did it.
Not much. And I don't know that it would have flustered David much anyways, unless it was, a tense,
personal thing,
a late in the tournament and the crowd really jumping on them, but they really didn't do that much. But they looked really good right out of the gate.
Were you surprised at USA's, who Jeremy put out for the first doubles? You surprised it didn't go like super strong?
Was it Earl and Oscar?
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised by a lot of his moves in the first couple days. And I haven't really talked to him in depth about it yet, but that one kind of surprised me. And it surprised me because of how much Earl was stacked into the second day. You know, it wouldn't have surprised me as much if he's like, okay, we're going to get Earl out there right away, get his feet wet a little bit. We can't be trailing too much more than a game and, you know, more than a point in the match. So it's not a critical moment. So to me, it wasn't that surprising that he'd run him out there early and see how he did. But you know, it was a pretty sound beating.
Yeah, I was surprised. I wasn't so surprised that Earl was out there, but I would have thought that, you know, you've got to expect it to be the Spanish. You know yourself as a captain. You've got one rookie. You get him in there as quick as possible. Same reason that he's put Earl in as quick as possible to get his feet wet and get him into the tournament. It would have made more sense for me. I mean, it's always hindsight to stick him in there with Shane on the first one. That's the guy he's most comfortable playing with, is Shane.
Yeah.
You know? So stick him out there. If you're going to put him in the first double, stick him out with the guy that he's most comfortable with. You know.
Yeah.
Not saying the result would have been different, but you know, it makes more sense.
What was the second doubles match that day? Was who? Was
Shane and Tyler
against Albin and
against Albin and Jason.
Yeah.
So Sky played singles.
Yeah. So Sky plays his first singles, which I kind of expected, because Shane normally is the last singles on day one, which turned out to be pushed to. So for me, it made sense and I was a little bit surprised that Alex put Filler in there, because.
So it would have been.
Sky always seems to get the better of Filler, you know, and it proves to be the same again.
Shane and so it would have been Shane and Earl, and then Tyler and Oscar to close the day with
Sky,
if
you had to switch them around, but
if you don't put Tyler or Oscar in the singles.
Yeah, I mean Shane and Earl won that key doubles match later in the cup. And I think you're right. Maybe it would have been good for Earl to get up there and score. I think the biggest takeaway for me with Earl was how I didn't expect him to be so negative on himself from the get-go. You know, I'm so used to kind of seeing Earl, even at the International Open, he was pretty confident and just got out there and buried the balls. I think if we would have had that version of Earl at the Mosconi Cup, it's a different cup. I think we win. Because I counted on, and I think I said on this podcast, Earl needs to win 3 points in order to justify the pick. And 3 points, I think we can win the cup. And he only really won one. And the one that he won, Shane kind of, you know, carried him across the line a little bit, because he was. It seemed like to me like he was really struggling mentally. So I think it's crucial. Earl's obviously not a rookie, but he's older and he's got a lot of pressure on himself, you know, to do well. So that might have been a good spot to put him with Shane right off and get them going together, you know, get them feeling good. That might have been good. Because, you know, Francisco and David, they play obviously great together, defending World Cup of Champs, but Sky and Shane took care of them. You know what I mean? I think they're our best doubles team, and Team USA has been playing really well within the doubles. Overall, I think just the cultural consistency across the stuff here, where Europe has to deal with different, you know, culturalities and different dispositions, and it's not uniform, even though there's 5 players, but you have a German and you have a Scotsman and you have, you know, some Spaniards, and you have different people here. They're just 5 Americans. So it's kind of like a little bit more synergy, it feels like, in the teams. But my disappointment, I guess, with Earl was more just his mindset. I don't care if he goes out there and plays bad, but to defeat yourself, I think is the biggest, most unconscionable thing. And I didn't like some of the things I saw from him mentally. So I think that was kind of frustrating.
I think for Earl, he's so used to venting. You know, people say that he's trying to shark, or he's arguing with people, or he's always talking to people. That for him is a way of venting his own frustrations. Now, he was very within himself, but then all his frustrations stay within himself.
Yeah.
You know, and if he's turning around to his coach and saying, "I'm not fit enough to do this. This is, you know, that I'm not." You know,
to me, that's the biggest cardinal sin that you can have as a competitor, is to not believe that you can go out there and win one match. Like, if you don't think you can get out there and win one match, then you can't be lobbying to be on the team. You don't deserve to be on the team.
Because he handled the crowd and the atmosphere. I felt like he handled it quite well.
It was fine. He just
got. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that he did was the thing we least expected him to do, and that was not be confident.
Yeah.
We expected him to go off the rails, or we expected him to start a fight, or we expected whatever. What you did not expect for him to do is to take the self-pity route and let that affect his game and his teammates. But one of the points that I wanted to make on the doubles thing is that where, we talked about maybe Shane should have been with Earl or Shane, but I don't, I think that Shane and Skylar, if you know that you're sending David and Francisco out at a certain time, I think that that's who you try to run out there as often as you can. You know that you're going to get them as the fans pick for doubles because the singles is going to be Earl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would have found ways to trot them out there as a pair as many times as I could in that tournament because you knew you were already getting one freebie. So theoretically, you could run them out a second time, right?
Or they did go twice.
They did run them a second time, but couldn't you do it a third time?
Shane and Skylar, you mean?
Don't think you can have three of the same. No.
Okay.
No, they were probably going to be the fans doubles, and they were in doubles on day 2, I think.
Yeah, they were in doubles on day 2 as well, or day 3. Day 3.
Yeah, you only get one plus a fan's choice, I think is the way that it'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, to me that was the most disappointing thing, just kind of seeing, because when Earl ran out, the racks that he was up 3-0 against Jason. The crowd was really behind him, and you can tell they were really pumped to watch Earl play well. So he tends to on with kind of stuff that the crowd gives him. He will go off the deep end too on the negative stuff, but the crowd really wanted him to get there, you know what I mean, and run out and beat him.
But it was amazing how little had to go wrong for the whole house of cards just to fall apart from him.
Yeah, it's like
it was like one ball. He couldn't recover from that one missed opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to miss. Everybody misses balls, He
even said that in the press conference, we're all going to miss balls on this table.
100%.
Nobody's going to shoot perfect. Everyone's going to miss a ball. If you think you're not going to miss a ball, you're an idiot. We're all going to miss a ball. First ball he misses, boom, head gone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
he gives away a 3-0.
You got to settle down and just
crazy.
And he was up on Albin too.
2-0.
He was up on Albin.
2-0 on Albin. Yeah.
2-0 on Albin. Yeah, I mean, he was putting himself. I think it was just maybe a little bit of self-sabotage when you want something so bad. Sometimes you kind of, can come up to the precipice of it and then like kind of break down. That happens sometimes in performance and stuff. So it is what it is. It sucks that we didn't get more points from Oscar too, because he I know has been playing solid, but he contributed, I think, 0 points outside of the
I almost feel like I didn't see him play.
Well, that's the thing, and that's and we're kind of getting a little ahead of ourselves on doing it instead of day 1, day 2. We're kind of jumping back and forth, which is fine. But one of the things that puzzled me was Earl had more opportunities at the table than Oscar or Tyler, and I didn't understand how Jeremy could let that happen, because he knew he was his the most questionable person on the team, and Oscar had one singles match and 2 doubles matches, and that was it. And so you didn't get that opportunity. And Oscar, as far as striking the ball, and actually didn't play that poorly. Didn't get a lot of opportunities in a couple of matches, but I was surprised that Earl ended up with more opportunities than either Tyler or Oscar.
Yep.
Even taking into account that you knew he was going to be that fan's choice for the singles, he played 3 doubles matches. Why is Earl Strickland playing 3 doubles matches? I didn't. That's the part that I didn't understand. That wasn't a fan's choice. Jeremy put him into doubles 3 times, and that to me didn't make a lot of sense.
Do you feel like perhaps it's a choice by Jeremy to not upset Earl, not to make him feel like the least worthy?
I think Jeremy's, he was more concerned about winning than anybody in that arena.
Yeah. But
your job's on the line.
Keeping Earl happy is one of the things you need to do if you're going to have a chance to win.
Well, I suppose. I mean, it's he can't be. I didn't think Earl was going to be disruptive to the team if he didn't play. I don't think he was going to kick and scream. Like I said, I just thought it was odd that he trotted him out there 3 different times for doubles.
Yeah. Okay, so we go the end of day one, and Tyler and Shane, I believe, win against Albin and Albin and Philip.
Where's that in the second day?
Last doubles on day one.
Oh yeah, Jason and Albin.
Jason and Albin.
Yeah, that was Shane and Tyler, and that's when they won 5-4. That was a big match, and there were two 5-4 matches in a row that the U.S. won, and really got the crowd revved up and into it. And they had that technical glitch near the end of day one too, which caused them to move that fans' choice into day two. Yeah. That was a little bit unfortunate, or not. It depends on how you look at it. I mean, if it was going to be Jason against Earl, at least this way you got it on day one, still with a 3-1 lead and a lot of momentum, right? The bad side of that is that the second day was Earl Fest.
Yeah, I thought at that moment, you've seen everybody play, and I thought, Tyler's striking the ball really well. He played good with together with Shane. He looked like he was sort of smoothing the ball, which is what you need to do on those tables. You want to take as much speed out of it as you can, and and rely on your stroke. And I thought he looked really, really good in that match. I mean, end of day one, I'm thinking, if everyone keeps playing, I spoke to Alex. He said, "Look, I'm happy with the way my guys are playing. We're 3-1 behind, but I think if they keep playing at this level, we'll be okay." Which for me indicated he's looking for the Americans to dip in the level slightly, or
possibly. Yeah. I mean, also, he definitely had to be happier after day one this year than last year, based on how his team was playing. Last year, they weren't hitting the ball well. They were making bad mistakes. This year, you're right. They played pretty well, but they were on the back end of 2 5-4 scores. So
yeah, Tyler, I think this year at the Mosconi Cup, especially leading into the last day, kind of set himself up as distinguishing himself as into the higher tier of American players.
Yeah, no doubt.
There was just like a lot of clean professionalism in the way he was delivering the ball. That was just, everybody was commenting about it like he's playing really high, like a really high level. And I think he had the highest TPA of anybody in the whole event on both sides going into the final day. So he's definitely cueing the ball well and playing well, and doing what he needed to kind of contribute for the team. So I thought that was great to see, because you needed somebody to step up. I think he stepped up. So it was really, for those last two spots between Earl and Oscar, how much contribution can you get? And I thought Earl had a chance to win, that match, especially against Jason. There's that, and that takes pressure off you, because there's little balls throughout the tournament that you think about, man, if this person didn't miss this ball, and if this ball hangs or this ball doesn't go in or whatever, like the cup swings, those are points that go the other way. And it's you start to realize the value of every inning. You know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. Like every ball matters so much. Every rack matters so much. So
how are you guys feeling at 3-1? Is it? Do you feel like you're in an even match now, or you still think you're underdogs?
No, I mean, like Alex said, if you're down 3-1 in a race to 11, you don't feel like you're too far out of it, right? So it certainly helped momentum and helped team morale and helped the crowd to know that you were going into day two up 3-1. So you're just trying to stay even after 3 days. That's what you want to be even or ahead after 3 days, because then that puts you in the driver's seat for day four when everything turns to singles as far as being able to stack your lineup. So it's just, how do we get through the first 3 days even, to me. I felt really good after day one.
Yeah, you just got to take it with a grain of salt. It's like the mission was accomplished for day one, which was to win the session. Every day you just want to win the session. Or if you won the session the day before, you want to at least split the session the next day.
Right.
So that becomes the goal every day. And Europe won the session every day thereafter. So, they took care of their business, you know what I mean, and kind of rebounded well. So Skylar winning that second singles match at the end of day two kind of helped stabilize and at least keep us tied. But Europe won the session 3-1 the next day.
So the session, historically it's been 5 matches on day one. There would be what's known as the Shane singles at the end of day one, that gets pushed to day 2. Much effect does that have on USA? Because for me, that has a negative effect for USA rather than, because they want to have that match on the last day. That's why Shane plays it, as that last match, because they're looking to go in. They went in. They went in on a high.
But they made it. They made it the fans' choice, right?
Yes.
They made that match the fans' choice, so we knew it was going to be Earl.
Yeah.
And then again, it comes to, do you want Earl playing the last match of day 1 when you've got a 3-1 lead, or would you rather have everybody sleep on it and get him psyched up?
My understanding is they pushed match 5 and just moved it somewhere else. Match 5 on day 1 would never have been the fans' choice. Match 1 on day 2 is always a fan's choice, but that 5th match was taken away and put somewhere else. Earl was always going to be playing the first match on day 2, regardless of if there was a 5th match or not.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And I don't remember, because even when they posted the lineups for the first day, they only posted 4 matches.
Strange, eh?
They talked about having 5 on the first day, and on their schedule on their website, it showed 5 on the first day.
But apparently the schedule on the website
that morning when they showed the schedule, they were only committing to 4. And so I don't know what really made them think there wasn't going to be a 5th, even before there was the technical glitch. It seemed like they were hemming and hawing on whether there was going to be a 5th match or not. So, not really sure what happened there.
So and it turns out to be Earl, the day of Earl, really.
Yeah. Right. And that was unfortunate.
But to Jim's point, it is a momentum breaker, right? Because momentum is a big deal. So like if Team Europe is starting to feel the pressure day 1, and they tend to start slow historically, and the crowd is breathing down their neck, and you just won 2 back-to-back hill matches, and now you got to go up there, and Shane can play with a little bit of confidence and relaxation, thinking like, oh well, my team's winning, I can go out here and get another point. 4-1's a big lead. I thought it was a big lead for the same reason that Earl's match was a big match, very consequential match at the beginning of day 2. But you definitely want to ride that momentum as long as you can. And, you give Team Europe a time to a day to decompress and to let go of whatever happened the first day. They get to breathe on it and just come back and relax and know what they're going to do now. And they get to lock in. That's a big thing.
So you're Jeremy Jones. You've picked Earl Strickland. As soon as you pick Earl Strickland, that your singles fans match is 99% going to be Earl Strickland. Have you dropped the ball by putting him in on day 2 in more matches? Have you dropped the ball there?
Well, I think if you're, what was the rule again? The fans' choice couldn't play in match 6, right?
The fans' choice would not be able to play in the doubles.
Doubles fans' choice, right?
Doubles fans' choice, yeah.
Right.
Has he dropped the ball there? Putting him in.
I kind of want to protect Earl as much as possible. Is my
Earl playing 3 times was on day 3, correct? Not day 2.
Yeah,
it was day 3.
Is that right?
I believe so. Because day 2 was 3-1. Day 2 was only 4 matches as well.
I have to look it up. I was drunk at the time.
Day 2 was only 4 matches as well, because it was 4-4. After
Tyler played the last match, so I was just thinking, did Earl play the 3 matches before?
No, the last match on day 2 was Skylar beating Francisco. Right.
Okay, day 2. Jason played Earl.
Right.
So that's the fans match. Jason wins that 5-3, and then it's another singles, Joshua against Shane.
Correct. And then Tyler and Oscar against Alvin and Josh, and then Skylar beat Francisco. So you're 4-4 going into day 3, and day 3 was the day of Earl.
Right.
So that's where I thought, okay, it's 4-4 at this point. I just didn't agree with putting him out there that much.
Yeah, and on day 3, it's what we talked about before. Earl's out there 3 times, and Oscar plays 1 singles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's me, I want to protect Earl as much as I can, and I'm not sure how much because the rule set that Matchroom has posted on their website is, I guess, outdated now. It doesn't make whatever, so it's kind of hard to see what the rule book is, and if choices predetermine what you can and can't do with other players at certain times. Like, I don't have that. I'd love to see what that looks like. You know what I mean? Engineer what the decisions were. But yeah, definitely, I think I wanna keep Earl, keep Earl safe as much as I can.
Right.
So doubles helps. Obviously, he did well with Shane in that doubles match, and then he went double singles with Sky.
Right.
And so that makes sense. Having a doubles player, then sticking on to the next round, into singles. But those are, two big matches that went the other way.
Yeah, to me, the biggest match on the third day was Oscar and Jason, because the difference between being down 8-6 and being tied 7-7 is huge when you're looking at the last day, because that you're coming out with a fan's choice double, which is going to be Shane and Sky, and then you can load singles however you want to do it. You can play that guessing game with the opponent. But if you're trailing 8-6 going into day 4, now Alex knows that Jeremy has to front load his singles to get the score, try to get the score back to even as quickly as he can, and then take his chances with the last 3 guys. So I thought that Oscar against Jason was really critical.
Oscar got some terrible breaks too. That
he had the worst break of
him. He didn't play poorly at all. He just didn't get the opportunities to be able to get through the rack. So I felt really bad for him in that. It was such, like I said, to me, the critical match of the tournament.
Yeah, and part of that really it's hard to kind of say, oh, this person broke bad, or this. I mean, you have referees hand racking for you with 9 on the spot and the break box. It's a crapshoot. You know what I mean? We talk about like wanting to have parity on the break, but the only true parity on the break is having a template, especially when you already make the break as hard as you can by putting the 9 on the spot and forcing the break box. I think hand racking is outdated. It doesn't give the players an opportunity to play their best. So,
well, they did have some of the balls were tapped.
They did tap
there was like
some sort of stability.
12 to 15 racks. The whole Mosconi Cup, there was 12 to 15 racks that just opened terrible. 9 ball was squeezing out. You have some early racks, stuff like that comes up because it's just not done right. There's too much variance. There's several referees who rack the balls terrible. Some referees rack the balls
we won't
fine,
name names,
but it's like, come on now. How many times do we have to see this guy rack the balls terrible?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like I understand you want to have
unpredictability,
a lot of play and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but
to a fault
with the template and that break standard with the box and everything. We saw that at the International. We saw it at the U.S. Open. There was a lot of play, a lot of back and forth, moving and trying to fight for that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The thing is the only thing I would take I just think it's silly that we keep doing it. Especially, it's harder to hand rack for shorter referees. Also, like with the 9 on the spot, it's harder to do that.
And on a brand new cloth, it's almost impossible to keep the balls.
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard. So you're making the referees look bad, and then the players got to deal with like the balls wedging up to one corner or the 9 leaking out and all this other stuff. And
there were a number of Shane's breaks where all the balls were in the bottom part of
and I promise you, it's not
the table. They were all on one side. It looked like he was playing one pocket.
Yeah, Shane's not hitting the break different than he does. The last 6 months. This is what he does. He breaks the balls. Like so, obviously there's variance there, and you can't really dial in on what it is until you start because you got to treat every rack like a dynamic thing. But they're just going to break from the same spot over and over and just pray that they get a good rack. You know what I mean? Because that's really what you're leaving it up to. So you're actually incorporating more luck. By hand racking the balls with a 9 on the spot, I think.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it as long as the 9-ball's not continually leaking down to the bottom rail.
Well, I think wasn't it day one or day two that it started doing that a bunch?
Yeah, but
right? Day one it did that a little bit.
Kicked a couple of times in the beginning.
Yeah.
But if it's doing consistently, then you never get that 50-yard shot on the 9-ball. You never get that 9-ball that Sky missed in his first match against Filler. You know, you never get those shots, a little bit of pressure, the arm start. And that's what we want to see. We want to see those 50-yard 9-balls on Hill getting missed, you know, or getting twitched. You know,
you're sick, man.
Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see them in pain. I want to see them work for their money.
Terrible.
But
a good day for Europe on day two. Sanchez and Alcaide. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Where am I? God, I might have lost it.
Yeah, Dave. Well, that's
Jason beats Earl 5-3. Joshua beats Shane 5-3. Big match that. That is what the match would have been on number 5 on day one normally.
Sure.
The fans match jumps in front of it on day two.
Right.
And then Filler and Albin against Sky, against Tyler and Dominguez. You would say, you know, Filler and Albin should be favourites for that most of the time anyway. And Oscar hadn't really had a proper hit up until that point. I mean, he played with Earl in the doubles against the Spaniards, and they shut them out basically. So we hadn't really hit many balls up to that point, you know. And Tyler was playing pretty well. So I ended up 5-3. And then Skylar comes out. So we've turned it around and we're 4-3 ahead. Everyone's thinking, well, this is it. You know, the momentum. Talked about the momentum. And Skylar pulled out a monster performance against Sanchez in the last match to bring it back to 4-4. And then kind of everybody's going in happy from there, aren't they? We're kind of happy that we've closed down from 2 behind to get to 4-4, and the American side's happy that, you know, the match hasn't got away from them after such a good start.
Yeah. Well, that was the match that Skylar was down 2-0, and he doubled the 6-ball length of the table, and then just played monster.
Right.
But you know, Sky, you know, what can you say about him? He was so good in this tournament. If you did, you know, a highlight reel from the tournament, he would have about 70% of the shots. He was just spectacular.
It's crazy. I mean, the bank combination he played, the 2-9 bank combination he played in his doubles match with Shane. And Shane's just looking all confused. And he says, well, you know, maybe I make the 9 if I play this shot. And Shane just walked away saying,
whatever you want.
Whatever you see. Right. Thank God Sky saw it.
And he just goes up and rattles it in. It's like crazy.
Well, I had a feeling he was going to try and bank the 2 around because I was from where I was sitting. I was like behind them, you know, up in the stands. And I'm like, well, this 2 ball's going right at the 9. You know what I mean? If he wants to move the cue ball forward, you know what I mean? And swing the 2 around.
But it's so creative because if he catches the top side of the 9, he probably makes a 2.
Yeah.
You know, if he doesn't catch any of the 9, he's come forward with the cue ball. So the 2 is going to bank 3 rails back around the table. He's got a lot of balls still on the table.
He said the 2 might go in up the top, you know, and top left.
Anything can happen, you know.
It was straight in.
But it looked like, didn't it?
The way Skylar plays at Mosconi Cup, you know, if he could play like that every single event he plays in, I mean, there's a major in that kid somewhere. There has to be a major title in him somewhere if he's able to pull out those kind of performances.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think does he need the crowd? Does he need the crowd? Does he need the pressure?
I think he does. I think the more pressure, the bigger the crowd, the better the more focus he tends to have, and the more confidence he tends to have. It's the only way to really, you know, look at it when you see him play the Mosconi Cup, and then you see him play other tournaments where he does fine. But you know, it's you know, he needs to get near the finals of more tournaments to get more TV time where there is a crowd there, and then maybe he'll have that same type of performance. But he certainly does just eat it up. And he was so good this year.
Crazy.
He's got that big stage firepower. You know what I mean? That when the limelight is really on, he can really come with it and plays at a high level, and it doesn't cause him to back down. He kind of jumps up to want to meet
he doesn't change his shot selections. He commits to the same shots he would do all the time. Doesn't back away from anything.
And he stays pretty poised, and it's just, you know, he feeds off of it, and he's able to execute and play at a high level, and he's definitely not, which is why, like, whenever people mention who's going to be the captain's pick, if it went 10-10, like, you're just going to put Skylar up there because they're going to put up Filler for sure, and Skylar's going to eat his lunch again because that's just how it is. He's gonna prepare him a little ham and cheese sandwich and a little Danish and send him on his way. And send him back to Germany.
Well, now tell me, Jim, what do you think? What do you think, Jim? If Jason was playing well and it went to 10-10, who's the captain's pick?
Are you asking who I would pick, or who do I think Alex would pick?
Who do you think Alex would have picked?
I think Alex picks Filler all the time.
The whole time, even though Sky has a better record against him.
I think so. Yeah, I personally, no, I'd be expecting Skyler to go up there. I wouldn't give him Filler. Yeah. Like, it gives him another reason to play well, because he just loves playing against him.
Yeah,
it gives him another reason to.
Another reason
to get his shoulders up, his chest out, and do his little.
It's like I've read this for the same reason you'd want to keep Shane away from Filler. It's the same thing.
Right.
I think that this is it.
Shane needs to stay away from Filler,
and we need to keep.
You've read this book before.
Away from.
You know how it ends, so it's like, okay, let's protect your guy.
Right.
Like, okay, everybody has a guy that has their number. Filler, his number.
I think they should make the captain's pick Scan's choice.
the captains against each other.
A 1 hour.
No, they'll put Earl up. They'll put Earl up.
Yeah. You could put Earl up again. It's good.
Well, that begs the other question about fans' choice, good or not.
Well, why not just turn around and say, you've got an MVP at the end of it. Turn around and say, who's your two MVPs at the moment? Let them battle it out. The winner gets the MVP title as well. Who's your two best players statistically that are up to win the MVP? Right, you're forced to get them two together.
Skyler was probably that.
Sky was that guy for USA
at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Filler was probably.
But what do you think about the fans' choice? Period. Good or bad?
I like having one. I don't like having two.
Yeah,
I think two is too many. You could argue that one is too many for the captain himself. I'm a fan. I'm not the captain. I'm a fan.
Right.
But two, I think, is too many. That has too much influence, especially when you have a weak link in your team somewhere.
Right.
It has too much influence over the entire match.
To know that the fans' choice was going to put your number one against their number 5.
Exactly.
Is a pretty good position to be in.
To know that your own fans are going to pick your number 5. Because I reckon
it's a popularity contest, and it's one of those things where if I'm a captain, I don't like that there's a fan's choice at all.
I could handle one. I don't like two.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine and empathize with the captains. Having it not be in your hands at all, and you got to wait to figure out what your roster is going to be. That can't be the most comfortable situation. And the fact that it ripples out into the rest of your lineup and how that unfolds is also, from the captain's perspective, not great. For the fans, maybe they feel like it's fun and they're engaged and stuff and all that's going on. But, I don't know. I guess I would have loved it if Earl would have just gone out and 5-0 Shaw. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they got it right. They did great. So it's, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, 4-4 at the end of day 2. You guys still happy as American fans? You still think you must be? Like I said,
we lost the session.
Going to be happy with 4-4.
Well, we lost a session. You know what I mean? And so you start over again. Basically, it's a new race to 7. So you got to regroup, and you just got to be taking a look at, okay, what are the things that we did well in the first 2 days? What are the things that we did poorly? How do we adjust? Set up our roster for the next day to put ourselves in a good chance to the session. That's really what you want. I thought that they needed to go into day 3, close day 3 with a 1 or 2 game lead to really have a chance to win the cup. That's what I thought at the beginning. That's what I would have said. If they could hold the lead into and through day 3, they got a legitimate chance to fade the singles, because I think somebody had posted earlier that we had won 6 doubles. We only won 1 singles match.
Well, 2. Sky won twice.
Sky won twice. Yeah.
Sky won twice.
And he should have won a 3rd singles match. Midget.
Well, yeah.
Anyways,
Earl should have won 1 too. So I mean, should have could have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's intense. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's you're like, here we go. We got to start over. We lost our advantage. So how do we regroup? That's and just go from there.
So
well, it started out good with a doubles win, by Earl and Shane. We got the crowd going, got Earl happy. Everything was kind of looking up at that point. And then what, like we commented on before, David, who did not play exceptionally well in that doubles match, comes back for the singles match and had one blazing open rack after the next. I mean, he was just his breaks in that match were just stupid good, and he just kind of cruised away.
What did you think about Tyler celebrating when he won the first rack to be 4-1 behind? What did you think of that?
I think that was a tweak at Alex. They had gotten into it a little bit about Tyler egging on the crowd when the other player had made a bad play or a safe or whatever. And I just think that, he got it into his head at that point where, listen, I'm going to get the crowd going and tweak my opponent any chance I get. So if it's 1-0, you don't know if you're going to win a second game. So if it's 1-0, go ahead and do it now. And that's kind of the way I thought, Tyler's he's a tough kid. He's, mentally, I think. So I just thought he's like, I don't mind bringing heat on myself. I'm going to raise the stakes here and get everybody involved any chance I get. And I don't have a problem with that.
And I think this was one of those times when the crowd had kind of lulled down and become kind of more spectators, just kind of like casual observers. And so he understood the importance of what it means to have the crowd engaged. You have to have them engaged and wake up. It's time for you guys to remind them that, you're here. Yeah. So if anything, it was more that I think Skylar had started that at a certain point where he had gotten straight in on a 9-ball and taken his extension. And I thought it was a savvy move that he did this. And he walked around the table and kind of pumped the crowd up a little bit. He was just straight in on the 9 and had the extension. And he wanted to, get the crowd running to really let Team Europe hear them. And I thought that was a very savvy move. That was the first time I'd seen somebody do that as far as like a home team using the crowd that way. And I thought it was kind of like a really smart thing to do during one of his singles matches. And I think Skylar was in that. And he's also probably happy he didn't get, whitewashed. So there was that too, just kind of releasing some of that pressure. But yeah.
I thought this was a massively important match. As soon as I saw the roster for day 3.
Yeah.
And then with you guys winning the first match, the doubles being 5-4 behind, I'm thinking, well, the American fans are all sitting going, here comes Al-Qaedi's singles match. Let's get ready and give him all the crap. As soon as he misses a ball, we're going to give him all the Fedor stuff. We're going to get right into him that he shouldn't be there. Fedor's better. And he comes out there, and for 4 racks, everyone's just sitting going, is he going to miss one? This is just insane pool. He's not missing any balls. He's not.
Yeah, he played lights out in that match.
Yeah, we can't say anything to him. We can't give, and he didn't. As soon as he got his next opportunity, boom, rack out, game over. I thought it was a massively important, not just for David, but for the match and for the crowd. The crowd would be looking forward to that moment. Can't wait for Arcadi's singles match. We're going to give him crap, and he just shut them out completely.
Yeah, he got settled and quieted the crowd down and played like a champion. He's a champion player. So
he is a champion. We all know that. I mean, everybody knows he's a champion player. Even the people that said that should have been Federer that got picked, they all know that David is no mug. Sure. He's proven he's proven what he can do, and he did it again. I thought he had a good Mosconi. I thought he played really, really well. He did what I expected. He didn't let anybody down. He won the points he should have won. He didn't give anything away. It's what he does every single year.
He would have had a chance to win MVP if it wasn't for extra couple of nods, I think. So I mean, he's playing great.
Yeah. So we're back level again, and then Sanchez, Ruiz, and Filler come out against Woodward and Strickland, and that's when it starts to go wrong again for Earl, really. Earl.
Earl.
I mean, we can keep beating down on him, but I mean, he had a bad match, And Ruiz and Filler, they're shot makers, they're dynamic, It's it was never really in doubt, that match. Pretty much from rack 2, rack 3, it was kind of pretty much done, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you finished up with Earl and Albin, and Earl got out to the 2-0 lead, and then lost 5 in a row, as he did, losing 5 in a row to Jason. So, Europe was on a pretty good roll at that point. winning 3 in a row and winning 3 in a row pretty comfortably. So they were in a good spot at that point.
And then then you've got the killer matchup that everyone thinks there's going to be fireworks here, and your guys just shut our boys out completely.
Yeah, they
crazy. Guy and Shane, that was the only shutout of the tournament, I believe.
Yeah,
and that was the match, Ray, where Skyler took the extension on the 9-ball. And that was one of my favorite moments in the entire tournament, because it got to the 8 and he got the crowd going, and the whole crowd from the one side of the arena, half of them came out of the stands right to the rail before he even shot the 9-ball. And it reminded me of, a college student body storming the field to tear down the goalposts. It was like all of a sudden they just all came out of the stands and they were right at rail side before the shot was even, then he grabbed a flag from somebody and stuck it in his pocket and went over and ran over and shot the 9 in. That to me was like the highlight reel moment of the tournament as a U.S. fan watching the thing. That was just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I think I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Man, I wonder if we win the cup, is everybody's going to storm the table, like jump over the banisters and pick the team up on their shoulders."
It was great. Great stuff.
It wouldn't have been too difficult to do, because there wasn't a huge amount of security there compared to like Alexander Palace.
Yeah,
I could have got on there any time I wanted. I could have jumped over the railing. I could have been in there,
Yeah, that moment came.
Then you'd have gotten pummeled in front of everybody in the middle of an arena.
I'm not saying I would have done it. I'm just saying I could have done it.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see the fans kind of that close and that involved.
Yeah, they got way into it, which was really
awesome.
cool.
Another question is there Shaw and Filler seem to be this dream team partnership, but they don't seem to do it when they're out there. Do you think they try and outshoot each other? Do you think they're too alike?
This is a bad example. I don't think they were really ever in this match. I don't remember them making a lot of mistakes in the match. They probably did make a couple of They
didn't get the first. It wasn't all break and runs. It wasn't all break and runs.
Right.
The Americans got themselves in a position to get the first shot in each rack.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm not really sure what their gig is together. They're both left-handers. They both play at the same pace. They're both, they can both spear any shot from anywhere on the table. So you would think that would be a pretty lethal combination.
I know a couple people yelled out, "Who's the better lefty?" That's enough just to drop seeds, drop seeds.
These two guys have both got an ego. The top guys have got an ego, and some are more. They look at somebody else as more of a challenge than other people. And I've said this before in the World Cup of Pool. I think Jason and Chris Melling is a terrible partnership, because if you watch some of the shots they take on, it's almost like, I'm going to make my shot more pretty than the one that you just made, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like this. It's not how you play the game. So anyway, we're back to Europe won ahead with one match left, and Oscar comes out, who must be still cold. He must still be feeling like he's cold.
He hasn't hit
doubles he wasn't really involved in.
Yeah, he wasn't involved during the whole day. And you got Jason, who's coming off a match that wasn't great.
But he's still been at the table,
And then he just, caught a gear. And that was...
Yeah, Jason Brooker ran 3 racks. That's that, I think.
Yeah.
Jason Brooker ran 3, and Oscar had 2 dry breaks from 2-2, I think.
Yeah, right. From 2-2 or 2. Yeah. And so it was just one of those matches. And that seemed to be, to me, the critical match as far as being able to try to set yourself up to win. Because, again, the difference between 8-6 and 7-7 going into the last day is night and day if you're the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So...
Yeah, tough. That's tough for Oscar to come out there in that position after spending more than a day and a half without hitting the ball really on that table.
Yeah.
It's a tough position to be in. Jason's coming out there. He's already played 1 doubles, 2. He's already played 2 doubles and a singles, 3 doubles. He's already played 3 doubles and a singles.
Right.
And Oscar's going out there playing a couple of shots in a doubles match. And that's it,
And
So anyway, so that's in 8-6. You're a big favourites then for me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like, the U.S. has to front load the last day.
Exactly.
Luckily, they had the doubles. Well, the doubles match favored the U.S. I thought Skylar and are just so good together. You knew that they were going to be the fans' choice for doubles. So that was a better position than usually the last day is all singles. Right.
Right.
I was very surprised by the European fans' choice.
I was a little bit surprised too, but afterwards, I thought it was pretty smart. Because otherwise you're picking filler and someone he doesn't normally play with because he can't play with Jason.
It's a fan's choice. It's about who the fans want to see playing. It's not necessarily who the fans think is the best.
I thought it was interesting too that they went with the Spanish pair as well.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, well, you know what? Good for them. I mean, they played it smart.
I thought FSR and filler were a lot for that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, David and Francisco, I mean, the World Cup champions, like you can't really be mad at that.
They lasted through the first day with no problem. So
sure.
I
just know there's a massive German audience over here that are watching every year. I just felt like to me that certainly on the European side there'd be more people picking filler.
Yeah. You figured it was going to be
well, does it matter who they were going to pick? They were going to lose to Skylar and Shane. You can pick
wow!
You can pick whoever you want. You're going to lose to Skylar and Shane.
Skylar and Shane are a pretty good combination, especially when Shane.
There's nobody on earth that has to beat them
because then Shane plays better. Knowing that Skylar is.
Shane can relax knowing Skylar's going to shoot the 2-9 combo every time.
Exactly, it's a short rack. It's short rack time. I don't need to do much work.
Simple as they come. No, those two play tremendous doubles together and.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Favored so strongly in the doubles.
Made it 8-7 with Skylar playing singles, and you're thinking, okay,
day 4
at 8-8, at 8-8, Europe's still a pretty heavy favorite,
right?
But at least now it's a race to 3 in the crowd. You never know what's going to happen at that point, right? So that to me was another critical match, and of course everybody knows, Skylar was up. 3-0. He was up 3-1 and running out. Left himself a long reach for a shot in the corner.
Yeah.
And he had already used his extension. And I talked to him about it later, and he said, listen, I already used my extension. The clock seemed to be running super fast. Right. And I couldn't reach it and I couldn't run back and get I had my extension, but I really needed the bridge. I didn't have time to go grab the bridge. So I had to just reach at it and poke it because I just didn't have enough time left. And he said, when I poked it, I just stabbed it into the rail. So, that's what he said happened to him on that shot. And as you know, if he goes up 4-1 at that point, he's a pretty solid favorite to win that match.
I spoke to him in the bathroom afterwards, and that's exactly the same as he said to me. And that it is for me. That's you can talk about what happened in the beginning of the match on day 1 and day 2, but once you get to that last day,
right,
all your mistakes are exponentially bigger. And that for me, that missed 4 ball is where the last hand that you had on the trophy. So kind of let go.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I still think we were the underdog, even if he wins.
You still have a hand on the trophy if he wins that match.
Right, but at least you're there, right? But give David credit because it was still only 4-2 at that point, and he ran off ran
3-2, and then he comes back
3-2 rather, and then he went through the.
Because he looked shaky in the beginning, David. He didn't look as confident.
I didn't like the fact that he jumped
previously.
He kind of got away with the jump a little bit. I thought he should have kicked at that 5 ball that Skylar hung up. But I had a conversation with somebody about stretching out using extensions. I think the modern players right now become so accustomed to using the extension. It's just like the default thing that everybody uses, that everybody's kind of forgotten how to use the bridge, especially if you don't have a snooker background.
Right.
But for different players and different height, like you have to have this, like almost like I've talked about it with some people on my side of like having like zones where the cue ball is to predetermine how you're going to approach it, knowing like, okay, the cue ball is in this spot and I have to stroke the ball, that I'm just going to grab the bridge if it's in this zone. You know what I mean? And you map that out for yourself in practice and you say, okay, above this zone, then I can use the extension if I have to stroke the ball back a little bit and draw it. If it's beyond this zone, it's in, stretch land, then I got to use the bridge. And just having that pre-decided in your mind already as part of your approach, so you don't get into a situation like how Skylar got in, where he's kind of like going to the table and then comes back to get his extension, then reaches and realizes he can't reach it, and then all of a sudden now he's against the shot clock and there's too much pressure. Because that ball, him going up 4-1, 8, now you start this momentum wave, where you can potentially start putting extra heat on people with the crowd. The crowd start to believe, hey, we have a shot.
Because then Shane's coming up next. You're 8-8 with Shane coming up next. We know Shane, he can get a little bit down. And I got to say, I mean, I'm not going to say it, that something did happen to Shane in between the first doubles and his singles. While Skylar was playing, he got quite a distressing telephone call. It's not for me to say exactly what it was, but let's just say we could consider that Shane. Sorry?
Talking about his grandfather?
Yeah, I don't know if that was public.
Well, he knew he knew that before when he woke up that morning.
Oh, he knew that before the doubles?
Yeah, he knew it before they started play. Yeah.
Okay, so Shane's grandfather passed. He found out that morning. So it's safe to say his head wasn't in the best place probably for that day. And it would have been quite easy for him to get a bit negative, and it was difficult for him to go out and play, I think. But anyway, he goes out against Jason. Another monster matchup. It's these two just seem to butt heads with each other continuously at Mosconi Cup. It's crazy. And Jason breaks like a beast.
Yeah, and got
he
some
got some
amazing rolls. That match. That match was a really tough match to watch.
There was that 10 minutes of insanity that it looked like we were watching 400 Fargos battling it out.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was almost like I don't know what happened to their heads there. It was. I've never seen two players of that caliber play that badly for 10 minutes.
Yeah, ever. It was weird. It was weird.
The rails definitely proved their structural integrity, and the Rassons are built well.
Yes, they did. There's a lot of 3 cushion going on there.
But no, it was also tough when you miss tough shots on those new cloth. You end up getting awkward lies and tough shots, and you got to come with and all the pressure and all that stuff's riding. It makes sense that a few innings go by and those guys are struggling to get back into control. But
other than that 10 minutes, I thought Jason played pretty well in that match. I thought
I think Jason played his best probably on that day, on day 4, which is what you want, really,
And then with those 2 matches, with David beating Skylar when he probably shouldn't have, and Jason getting out of that match with.
Yeah, I mean, USA needed to win.
It was just a question who's going to be the one that wins the point, because you can't have much faith in Earl to win his point. Oscar feels like he hasn't even played in the event yet, And
I mean, if you're up 9-8, even at that point with Skylar and Shane winning, you still got to win one of those last 3 to get to the captain's pick.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got.
Yeah, I think the goal is to get to a captain.
Tyler, Oscar, and Earl coming up, all of whom could easily win, a race to 5, but all of whom would have been, a game underdog in each of those matches. So it was still a tall order to fill, but you wanted to get yourself into position to maybe allow the crowd to have an impact on how one of those players plays.
If you can just every match you win from there gets the crowd more and more engaged.
Of course. Can you imagine that place if they know it's the last day and it's 8-8, or the US is winning 9-8?
I can guarantee you, Alvin and FSR are not sitting there thinking, "I hope I get to play because I want to make that last 9 ball." They're thinking, "Get it done now.
Somebody else get it done.
I don't want to be out there
right away.
Get it done
Please.
now.
Get me out of here."
Yeah.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of 2018, where the U.S. had the lead going into that last day. They were up 9-7, and so they fronted Sky and back-ended Shane, and sure enough, the 3 in between guys all lost because they were not favorites in any of those matches. Corey, Tyler, and Billy.
And Europe had to go strong, and they had Alex Kazakis in the last one. Yeah,
right. So that's that whole kind of the cat and mouse game on that last day, whether you're winning or losing. So with Europe going into that last day with the lead, I thought it was really kind of a stretch for the U.S. to pull this one out.
If USA had won those first 3, and now you have 3 bullets to try and get to
3 to win 1.
10. You want to get
3 to win 1.
3 to win 1. Right.
Right.
I love it. You're happy at 10.
I love it. I 100% love it, because Oscar gives himself a chance to win a huge consequential match, earn a spot. Tyler has a chance to, go up there and play, filler in a spot where he doesn't feel all that pressure, like have to save the cup, type of thing. That's a tough spot to be in too.
Well, there would have been pressure on the American players too. Trust me, if they go out there and all of a sudden there's expectations that we can win there, and every fan is pulling for you, and you've got every fan sitting on your shoulder saying, "Come on, you got to do this for us." There's pressure there too.
If Earl had won that match too, to make it 10-10 and save the cup, forget it. It's over, baby.
Maybe he'd have been the captain's pick.
Then he'd be the legend again, and nobody would care. Nobody would talk.
That was a big ask.
But as it worked out, Filla's doing what Filla does, and Tyler's playing well.
And he was playing well.
And then what happens in that? And there's one rack in there where he's going for 4 railers, and he's trying bank shots.
Well, I talked to him about that too. He wasn't trying
100 mile an hour.
He wasn't trying to make the ball go in 3 rails.
No, he was trying to get safe.
He was trying to bring it back to the same spot that it was.
He's just clipping off it, and he's safe. He clips off it any way he wants. He's played a bank shot that he's hit at 100 miles an hour. He's hit it so hard that the 8 ball has jumped off the table from the first rail.
And these tables
bouncing. It's like I don't understand.
He had
he's still in the match, and he was still there. He's 4-3 down. He gets himself perfect on the 8 ball, and has he shocked himself? Because he's played a little bit to the crowd.
I don't think he wasn't playing. He was playing the crowd after each rack. He wasn't playing to the crowd during that rack. I think he was.
I've done it before. I've winked. I've been playing a team match, and I've been left with a ball on the table, and I've winked at one of my teammates like, "That'll do." And you go over the ball, and you think, "I'm going to look like an idiot if I miss this now." And you're thinking now Tyler's got the same. He's got on the 8, and he's given a nod to the crowd. He's sort of going, and they've reacted. Has he shocked himself?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think he did too much.
Won't do it again.
I think he did too much with the cue ball. I think he was trying to get the cue ball off the rail, and so he
hit it harder than he needed to me. I mean, these were not tables to power a lot of balls into.
Well, exactly, and I think primarily because he was on the the high side of the 8 a little bit. So if you just draw it straight back, he's going to go slightly towards the long rail. But I think if he could have played it at a pinch draw soft, just draw it straight back, he could have rubbed the rail slightly and it still would have gone in, and he could have protected the cue ball and maybe not have gotten dead perfect on the 9, but gotten to where he's past the side pocket.
Take your medicine and make the shot.
Right.
It's the one shot he's got. It's the one shot he's got a little bit quick on. I've watched it back. He's smooth stroked everything for 4 days, and that one he's tried to pop, and it's one of the few balls that he's really tried to pop at. And
I was really. You just feel the air leave the arena.
Oh, it was crazy. Even I sort of went, oh. Whoa.
Yeah, because you were wanting to see 4-4.
Because you want to see 4-4. You want to see 4-4.
This is how it's going to end with Phil having 2 hangers for the cup.
Yeah. And even Josh, Josh made the winning shot and didn't do the typical Josh thing. He
felt bad for him,
which I thought was really cool. He went right up to Tyler and said, "I'm sorry about that." That was a tough thing, which I thought was really cool. So it was just one of those things. So that it brought a really kind of anticlimactic close to
it. Really was. It was just this. There was just the air. Just like you said, the air got sucked out of the place. It's like, oh, is that it now?
Yeah,
so it's finished now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to see it go hill. And it's tough. That whole rack make it 4-3. There's the 8 ball laid weird a couple times when Josh.
He made great run. He was playing great.
The shot that Tyler played, making the 6 ball, using the 8 ball to hold for the 7, one of the best shots of the tournament, because you can hit that, you can be just slightly off on that, and you're losing the cue ball. The cue ball could scratch off the 8. It could go behind the 8. You're hooked on it. Sure. You miss it. You're going, and he's played it absolutely perfect. And it's a tough pot from that angle as well. Yeah. You know, and to slow screw that and get that action and that accuracy, hell of a shot. He deserved to get out just from that one shot, really.
Well, after that match, it was nice to see how relieved Europe was to be done with the fans, you know, because you could tell, man, they were wearing on him. Like Alex Lady was like, man, I'm done. I'm retiring after this. This sucks, you know. And then like then just the players were like, man, I'm so done. I'm so glad I'm done with these brutal fans because they've been beating me up for like 3 days.
But I thought it was very cool that they all stood on the table and
I did too. I thought that was great.
The U.S. side of the crowd and did a nice applause.
I thought that was great.
Which I thought was really cool.
This is the way Mosconi should be, and this is what, for me personally, makes Mosconi so special. I have as a fan when I leave the arena, we all go to the same place. We all go to the same bar. We're all together. You know, I arranged the Mosconi Cup fans match, which I did this year, just to get the fans together to meet each other.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And you want to see that from the players as well. You know, I've been beating on you for 4 days. I've had to go at you at the press conference. I've called you a beached whale. I've taken the piss out of your shoes. But now we're done. It's a mutual respect, and the same for the fans. The fans have been shouting crap at me all week, but you know, it's done now. Thank you very much. And they acknowledged that it was an amazing atmosphere, that they've never, even the most experienced guys on Team Europe have never had. It's always been on their side.
I would have liked to seen a jersey swap almost. I've seen like basketball players do this sometimes where they, you know.
I did not want to be in the arena seeing Jason.
No, you don't want to see. You don't want to see these guys.
Assuming there was an undershirt. Assuming there was an undershirt. Nice to see that kind. But they really did exemplify that and show some good camaraderie.
Yeah, it was great.
And you saw it in the handshakes at the end. You know, Earl was congratulating everybody fully. You know, he wasn't just shaking hands.
There was a little more sense of exhaustion in all the players.
Everybody, they were all feeling
it. The intensity was there this year, and the crowd was there, and the table was tough, and nobody was.
I was exhausted. I didn't hit a ball. I was exhausted. I got home. I'm like, oh my god, I've been in bed the last 2 days recovering from whatever bug I got.
I was quite tired as well, but that's for different reasons.
they must feel like they got hit by a truck, you know?
Yeah, no, it was great.
So Europe won 11-7. Joshua Phillip MVP. I want to make one. I want to ask one question on the MVP. How do you feel about the MVP can only go to the winning team? Is that correct, or do you not agree with that?
You know, I agree with it only because I agree with that in other sports. I hate when they pick an MVP for Major League Baseball and he was on a last place team. I mean, how much could you have helped your team if you hit 30,000 home runs and your team still finished last? So are you the best player in the league? Probably, but it is most valuable. It depends on your interpretation of what the prize is. If it's most valuable, you know, I mean, it could go the other way. I mean, I thought in what was the year where Johnny Archer carried the team on his back to the final day and made it 9-9, right?
And they still lost. Yeah.
And they still lost 11-9. But without him, you know, he carried them through the last. So at that point, you give him value because otherwise it would have been, you know, 11-3. He had that kind of impact on the year.
What's the
there's nothing that comes with it other than a trophy, which is good because I mean it's unfair right now anyways because
some players play more matches
because of the fans' choice as much as and because the coach can have someone play more so so it's you know it's one of those things where so I don't mind the way it is now.
Well, it was the right it was the right player for Europe. I think USA's would have probably been Sky because he played so unbelievable.
Hands down Sky, right? I mean,
and it's also interesting to think like when you look at the lineups, right? You know, we got very little production from Earl and from Oscar, but it was 11-7, and it was closer to the balls and certain key. I think we had like very consequential misses. Like like the errors that came were extremely consequential misses, like very, very important balls that cost us big games. Whereas balls, it seems like those misses weren't very consequential. And it's kind of maybe that's just the pressure that USA is on to kind of play at their peak, you know, to outrun and win the cup, you know.
But the losing team traditionally remembers each one of its misses because they're consequential.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not unusual. I think that to me, the most, you know, you talk about how it was closer than 11-7 and things like that. and I've said a million times in different discussions coming up to this is you can't win the Mosconi Cup with 2 players.
Sure.
You have to get points from the other players, right? That's what wins and loses the Mosconi Cup. We were 0 for 7 in singles, aside from Skylar.
Yeah.
Skylar won 2 singles matches. We were 0 for. You have to win. You have to win a single. You need your 3, 4, and 5 guys to win a singles match. Not just there wasn't. U.S. didn't get 1 point in this tournament that didn't include either Shane or Sky. Mm-hmm. Not a point. Yeah. Okay, so every 7 wins with either a single win by Sky or a doubles win that included either Sky or Shane. You can't win that way. You just can't. So what we need to do more than anything is find 3 guys who can win a singles match, and then the whole thing turns around. So then all of a sudden you're at 9-9, pretty much every year. So so that to me is the big key. Is we need to find 3 players who can step in there and win 1 singles match. And we did that the years we won. We got that. Billy Thorpe beat Jason in 19. Tyler beat Niels in 18. So you had those guys that you needed to steal a win from. You got them to steal a win, and then the other guys gave you enough points to get over the line. Okay. That to me is what the difference in these 2 teams comes down to.
Well, the discussion about who that would be and how that would happen is probably for another time. But just one quick question on the USA team: do you give JJ another year?
100%, because I don't see anybody else that in the American system that I trust to understand how this works.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of shenanigans really the whole time JJ's had the single take. You had the COVID year. I think, what was it? Bergman couldn't play or something one year. And then last year you asked Jeremy to get in there and play, which I thought was out of pocket. And sure, it saved the show. And he added some great drama and stuff, unfair to him. And then this year you kind of it feels like you're putting Earl back in to kind of make amends for that because whatever reasons, I'm sure he can say that
I think he really thought that Earl was the best pick.
I do too. Yeah. I don't think he was giving handouts to anybody because he owed him a favor. And I think that you made a really good point about the previous 2 years with Jeremy. And I think this was the first year he really had his choice and his picks and his time with the team. And I think that they showed more fight, more togetherness, more bond. I think they played
this is
really well as a team, and a couple of those guys were a shot away or 2 from maybe stealing that key point that they needed to win. But I thought that he did a really good job this year, and for that reason, I would give him another shot.
Yeah, I think this is the best I've seen the team work together.
Right.
And this is the most engaged I've seen Shane since the years that they won with Johan, which I think was really great and very positive. So that's a testament to, what they're doing is working, and they were, very close to winning. And I know Jeremy definitely wants to win the cup, so I those last 2 years, aside with the whole kind of pivoting and all this stuff, I just kind of want to see continuity, unless we start seeing somebody who's going to step in and kind of be a leader in this realm, or is going to work with JJ or something to take over the captainship, then yeah, why not? But I think as far as the teamwork goes, the team being together and bonding and really kind of committing to each other, this is the best I've seen it since Johan was captain.
Yeah,
I would. I'd let him have another year. I watched they did the live practice sessions, or they have a live stream of the practice sessions they were doing, and you could see that the players were engaged in everything that Jeremy was saying. They really were listening. They weren't just doing their own thing, looking around. He was giving them little tips, and they were trying stuff, and they were like, "Wow, really? Whoa, yeah, oh, well, a guy like Oscar has been playing for like over 30 years. Just a simple little tip. He's going, geez, hey, that's and Tyler as well, and they're really feeding into what he's saying to them. So I think he's got his team there. He is able to communicate. They listen to him. They have a respect for him. Once you have that, then why would you change that? Why would you bring somebody new in that has to build all that respect and all that belief up again? You're just slowing down the process, And I had the line at 11-5, for me, the team overachieved, and he's got to have something to do with that. We talked about the team. Even the Earl managed to be part of that team, and and listen to Jeremy. And you could see that when Jeremy was coming out, he was listening to him. He wasn't the Earl of old. You maybe expect him to turn around and say, "Don't tell me how to play this game. You think you can tell me how to play this game?" That's the kind of thing you're worried about. But he had a mutual respect for him, and he listened to him, and he was, he got on. He seemed to get on with everybody, and part of that is JJ. Providing that continuity and being the glue in that team. I thought he did a great job. I'd have him back. I couldn't think of somebody that you would throw in there right now that I could say would be better. Give him another shot, Matchroom. Why not?
I think we just need more of the American guys to continue to come out and play and get the experience, because they're on the kind of the ground floor for the few guys that haven't been out there competing regularly at that level all the time.
Well,
there's a few guys
one of the stories of this whole Mosconi Cup, even though he wasn't there, was Greg Hogue almost qualifying. I would like to think that would give a huge number of players in the States the belief that, hold on a minute,
absolutely,
if I go and play some events, I can make it.
Yeah.
Greg was one match away from changing the way this roster looked.
So, and I think that
because Skylar would have had to have been a wild card.
I think that this year really, to me, gave me a really positive feeling for the U.S. going forward because the event was so big, because it got so much visibility, because you could feel the intensity in there, and you had guys like Shane Wolford in the stands, and they were watching. I mean, that's got to just get into your bones, and
absolutely.
And with all the increased tournaments and the focus on the Matchroom 9-ball ranking things to get on the team where people are going to have to get out there and play more. The experience is going to help the younger U.S. players, and so and it's when you see it this year, you're like, how can this not be an aspirational thing for any young player? So now that you know that there's a way to get in and you've got to ratchet up your game to get there, I think you're going to see a lot more buy-in from younger and other American players, and that level is going to increase as they start fighting each other to get that spot.
And there's a lot of players who possibly thought it was out of reach. You must be thinking, "Oh, hold on a minute."
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look at the points. It was based on money, and the points this year for the bottom, the third U.S. automatic spot was about $10,000. So now, if we go through next year and the third place guy gets in with 10,000 again, then we didn't make any gains. What I want to do is look at that, see how much that number 3, 4, 5, and 6 make in this year coming up. That will indicate to me whether we're on that upward trajectory.
I'd just like to see them at tournaments. I'd like to see them coming over and playing the European Open, the UK Open. Like Shane Wolford did.
Expensive.
It's expensive. But you've got to. So, I mean, for certain players,
I get it.
For certain players of a certain age, yes, it's expensive. For the younger generation, they have to look at it as an investment in their future. Sure. So you've got to put in, you reap what you sow. You've got to put it in first and then take it out afterwards, And
exactly.
These are the guys now, the 20-year-olds just now are the ones, Barry Hearn talked about, I want $1 million prize fund. I want my players to be millionaires. It's not the players now that are going to be the millionaires. It's the players who are in their teenagers and their 20s. They need to be the ones that need to start investing in their futures now if they want to be those millionaires in 15, 20 years' time. Because this is not something that happens tomorrow.
Right.
No. But okay. One more quick thing before we go. We talked about JJ. Team Europe is looking for a new captain. Surprised?
It should be you, Jim.
Surprised?
No, I mean, you had heard some rumblings, right, Jim? I mean,
I
had heard before that he was probably going to step down. He insisted that he didn't really know until the end of the event, but I think that I understand what he says. It's he did it for 3 years. He won 3 times. He enjoyed it. And he's ready to turn it over to somebody else. I think that's I think it's great. I think he's done a great job. Everybody loves Alex. He's a great mentor to players. Can be a great mentor to whoever comes in his place. He can help them out. Talking ahead of time. So I don't think that I'm really overly surprised. I can't say that I'm, terribly unhappy as a U.S. fan because you seem to really, do a good job and have their ear. You never know. So the person who steps in could be the next, Bella Caroli or the next Johan or whatever, and then it's a whole different story. But it's going to be interesting to see who they replace him with. I think that's got my, attention more than Alex leaving.
Lil Chris needs to behave himself. But okay,
it would be interesting to see who
would you think's in line for it? Who do you think's the most natural choice?
Well, my guess is that they would go with an established player, a former Mosconi Cup player. I don't know a lot about other real coaches, trainers in Europe like Johan was. I know that there's some around there developing some great talent. There's got to be some pretty good guys in there. And again, it's not changing someone's stroke or teaching them how to make, but I think that there is a part of that mentality and a part of that experience as a coach trainer that helps you, especially if you get over there and there's some adversity, if you get over there and someone's not playing well, things like that. But I think that in the end, they'll go to an existing player, and my odds-on favorites would probably be Niels or Darren.
Okay, Raymond, how do you feel about Alex stepping down, Darren, and who would you think would be the natural successor?
Well, I think him stepping down is kind of a boss move, It kind of like he says, I've done my job here.
Johan mic drop.
The same way. He walks away. Yeah, see you guys later. Have a nice one. And first round is on me, so that's good. I mean, it's good for him if he's gotten what he wants out of that situation, and he can move on and do stuff that makes him happy. That's great. I think Darren and Niels are, like obvious choices. I know probably both of them are going to be eager to compete and try and make the cup outright.
That's the other side,
and they're both kind of like on that process. So they're in like a this transitional phase, but they still have a lot of good competition in them, and they're both performing well still. So I would say if they don't qualify, then they would be obvious choices, based on their experience and understanding how the lineups go and the pressure and all that. So Europe has they're in the front running right now, so there's less pressure on them with whoever they pick as a coach.
Correct.
I think as far as USA goes, it's more about building on what we have right now, this core group, and adding the right pieces to and win a couple singles matches and can kind of have the trust of the main guys. So I think this next couple of years would be very important for them.
Well,
where are you staying, Jim?
I knew Alex was going to stop. I mean, he's played 3 matches that nobody's played. I mean, or he's got the combination of 3 that nobody else has. He's played a European one. He's coached a European one. He's coached on the American side in Vegas, and he had the one behind closed doors, which nobody's ever done before. So he's got the full set of traffic lights that you would expect nobody else is going to get. And he's won all 3 of them. Like you said, he walks out in the high. Why walk? Why wait till you lose before you walk? As far as who would be next, I mean, you mentioned it there, Raymond. Europe has a buffer there. This could be an opportunity for Matchroom to think a little bit outside the box. As a player, it's always been.
You're not going to say Judd Trump, are you?
No, it's historically the coach comes in. You talk about it being other than Johan. You talk about it being an ex-player, somebody who basically their only chance of being in the Mosconi Cup now is if they are the captain. Right. Now, to say to Niels or Darren, do you want the captaincy? You're basically saying you're giving up your chances to play on the team. So they're playing for the entire season for nothing, other than winning individual tournaments. Because I can't imagine they'll wait until October to invite people to be the captain. And then Neil says, "Oh, I've got no chance of qualifying anyway." Or Dan says, "Way down the ranking." This is going to have to be something that's announced within the next few weeks or a month or two, so that the captain has the opportunity to start organising his time to go to events, to see potential players playing, and to actually invest time into building a team. So you can't leave it too long, and then you're saying to them, "Well, you're not going to be in the team, so do you want to captain the team?" Does Neil say at this time, "Okay, I'll do that"? Maybe he does, but he's still fresh. He's still played with some of the guys that you would expect to be in this team. So he's gone from playing with them to now captaining them. That's a different mindset. Are they willing to take Neil as the leader of their team when he probably wasn't the leader in the team when he was playing?
Maybe a Ralph
Jeremy.
A Ralph
situation with Jeremy.
No, but Jeremy's only ever played with Errol.
Right.
He's never played with the rest of that team. I mean,
what about somebody
he's
like?
Never played in it. He's never, other than last year when he had to. He was never in a team with Shane. He was never in a team with.
Why do you think that that's a difference?
Because you're going into captain, be a leader, other than which is different from I'm not sure. It's different. It's just different from playing somebody and then going and being their leader and telling them what to do. Playing with them and then telling them what to do. Is it too fresh for Niels? Having probably 3 players in his team that he played alongside in a bad year that they had, the last time he played.
Haven't you ever gotten promoted and now you're the boss of
yes,
people?
Yes, I know you do,
with?
But this is within Mosconi Cup, it's almost like an admission that I'm never going to make the team again. Nobody's ever been captain and then qualified for the team afterwards.
Somebody like Ralph Eckert.
Other than the players who were playing captains. They're the only ones that have ever done it. Yeah. And Europe have a buffer. If this was the other way around, if Europe were the dominating team, so if USA was the dominating team and they lost their captain, I'd be shouting for Joe Rogan. Get him in there. He plays a bit of pool. He plays at a reasonable level. He's got a huge following, and the buzz that it would attract, and there is a buffer that you have as the defending. Europe have a big buffer at the moment. They can afford to think outside the box and go for somebody that is from outside. We talk about pool will grow if money comes from outside. Pool will grow if we get the outside in. This is an opportunity. It's our biggest event for publicizing the sport. We talked about how great the crowd was. We talked about it causing a buzz. We want the players to get involved. This is going to be great for them. There's an opportunity to expand this. And we have, for example, Davis Cup tennis. They know how, if there's a Davis Cup coach out there who's used to taking individuals together and making them play as a team, who's also knows a bit about pool, please come forward, because this is the kind of person you have to have a background in pool. You have to know a little bit about it, but you don't have to have been a pro. Yeah. You just have to understand what's going on and be able to put a team together. If there's a Joe Rogan out there in Europe, if there's a Joe Rogan in Europe or a Manny Pacquiao in Europe, who is a high-level pool player but not a professional player, but can bring in the crowd from whatever sport they play as well, and the interest, the social media interest, everything. This is an opportunity for Matchroom to get one of them. Do something different, I would say. Niels is a natural pick, but the natural pick doesn't cause a buzz, in my opinion.
I don't think they need the coach to cause a buzz, but I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt. But if they pick someone, a Joe Rogan, and he coaches Team Europe.
No, I'm saying if it was the other way around, we need a Joe Rogan on the European side.
So I'm saying if there was a Joe Rogan in Europe and you got him to coach Europe, and he didn't know what he was doing come match time, and the wheels started coming off, and he didn't know how to pull it back because he's not been in that arena, and Europe loses, then it's like then it's a catastrophe. Yeah. Then I don't know. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I know where you're going with it. But it's a tough one to reach out there and pull somebody out of thin air. And if it doesn't, because Europe does have a buffer, if all of a sudden they lose that buffer in 1 year, not going to be good.
Okay, but
Ralph Eckert might be one of those guys that is not so connected to the players as far as competition goes, but does a lot of coaching and
I honestly don't. I mean, it depends what you talk about coaching. Coaching for me is training, is teaching them how to play the sport. But I think you guys call that training, and coaching is something about motivation and mental coaching and stuff like that. When I use the word, when I think about a coach, I think about somebody that's going to tell me, well, you were standing wrong, your head wasn't square, your alignment's off. You can't have that in a 4-day event, because what you're going to teach these guys in 4 days about their alignment and stuff like that. It's mental coaching. It's about making the correct picks. It's about it's knowing your. Well,
obviously, I think if you can find a combination of those, then you got the perfect fit, which is why Johan was the perfect fit.
Darren Appleton mentioned it perfectly on one of the posts that I put up, saying that You have to be a coach, a manager, and what was it he said? A coach, a manager,
and a psychologist.
No, see that he says America need all three. Europe can get away with two.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
that's
so
what, you know,
that's
what you're saying. You could.
So you don't have to find a Johan. You don't have to find Alex Lilly's overqualified for that job, in my opinion. I reckon if Alex used 30% of his ability, then he used a lot in that team. Really.
Yeah.
If he's in Team USA, he probably needs to use about 70% of the knowledge he has in order to get them through it, you know. But the amount of the knowledge that the man has is just it's incredible. You know, when it comes from outside the pool world as well, you know, with the professional life that he has outside. And so he's kind of overqualified for that team in the situation it is just now, because they don't need an Alex Lilly. You know?
Well, like I said, they're overqualified until they lose, and then there's a problem.
That's it. And it will happen. It'll swap over again. It'll swap over again. But
yeah.
I like it.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Close a buzz.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Any last comments?
No, this was great.
Minutes.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
45 minutes. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I hope everyone else that enjoyed it. I'm sorry we didn't get round to. I know loads of remarks here. I see Mike Siegel for Team USA. In my opinion, JJ stays. He has to stay. Get the continuity going. Give him that extra couple of years. He seems to have got his players on board, so I wouldn't be changing anything there. I want to thank you guys for hanging around for so long. Mike, I know you had a busy week in Vegas as well.
Yeah. No, this is fun though. I always enjoy it.
How cool was your interview with Barry Hearn? That went quite well, I thought. Like I said, they needed to get the pit bull reporter in there, because getting Barry to talk is like pulling teeth. All I had to do was say, "Hi, Barry, how are you?" And that was it. I just stood there for 15 minutes. You ask him.
No, he's if he can't get you pumped up about the game and sport and thing, then you don't have a pulse, because he's the real deal.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in, Raymond.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week once Nate's recovered, because he tried to play with the big boys and we broke him.
No, that was a losing game. See you guys later.